Welcome everyone. This is one of many webinar series as part of Entrepreneurship World Cup that we're going to organize in this month and next month. This first webinar is all about fostering a knowledge-based economic within the entrepreneurship ecosystem. My name is Swethal Kumar. I'm the CEO of Startup Skill 360. We are the official national organizer of Entrepreneurship World Cup in the UAE. And today we have with us our knowledge partner, London Business School, and accelerator partner, Founder Institute. Before going more detail about our partners, let me take this an opportunity to introduce with you our panelists. We have Samir Sortur. He's representing Founder Institute as a managing director, as well as Samir is the founder and CEO of Square Circle Venture, a Palo Alto-based impact growth firm. And he has been tremendous experience in accelerating growth stage companies globally. And in fact, in Middle East and Africa, he's been focusing more on delivering B2B data analytics solutions. Samir is certified corporate innovation specialist and also a member of Global Blockchain Council. And he has guided large Fortune 500 companies, government, startups, and scale up, particularly in e-mobility, digital health, and fintechs. Welcome, Samir.
Thank you very much, Swethal. Thanks for the great introduction.
Let me move on to Jane. Jane is representing London Business School, who is our knowledge partner. Jane Khedair was appointed Executive Director of the Institute of Entrepreneurship and Private Equity, in short IEPC, in September 2022. Jane's career started in 1991 after founding Business Plan Services in the UK, where Jane became one of the UK's leading authorities on business planning. And she also co-authored a book on successful business plan. And she appears as a guest speaker on BBC Radio 4. Originally brought into London Business School in 2013, Jane was appointed to the role of director of the IEPC, which is Institute of Entrepreneurship and Private Capital, in 2018. And she developed a suite of resources to support aspiring founders with all aspects of pursuing an entrepreneurship career. For almost 10 years, Jane was also driving force behind the school's incubator, and also that evolved into a £3 million program for up to 11 teams each year. In addition, Jane launched Enterprise 100, the angel network that has been operating out of London Business School since 1999, which provides early stage funding for many of the school's entrepreneurial ventures. So welcome, Jane, to our first webinar series, joint webinar series with our partner, Founder Institute.
Thanks, Swethal. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So let's start with you, Jane. So given that you have an extensive experience in entrepreneurship and your role as the executive director of the Institute of Entrepreneurship and Private Capital, could you share with us your insight on the importance of strategic planning in fostering a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Sure. I mean, strategic planning in really any sort of ecosystem is especially entrepreneurship, is really no different to any other context, to be honest with you. I mean, the strategic plan, being the output of the planning process, allows you to see essentially what's important, where you want to prioritize your energy, how you're going to get there in terms of resources that you're going to need, maybe anticipating pitfalls that you're going to come across and potentially avoid, hopefully. So it enables you to essentially, as I say, prioritize your resources and keep you focused on where you really want to go. But that said, I'm always against documents being cast in stone and not being sort of flexible enough to give you that sort of ability to pivot when you need to. Sometimes opportunities arise which you didn't anticipate at the strategic planning process. And that's true, as I say, in any context, and perhaps even more relevant within the sort of entrepreneurial ecosystem where, small fledgling businesses have to be particularly nimble in terms of identifying, moving horizons and how they're going to attain their objectives. It's incredibly important that the strategic plan is in place to make sure that everybody's effectively singing from the same song sheet in terms of other stakeholders, as I say, give you that focus, but enable you to move in response to changing dynamics of a marketplace or opportunities, or even threats that come about, which you perhaps didn't anticipate in the first instance. But yeah, that's strategic planning for you. Unless you've got a crystal ball, it's very difficult to identify exactly what you're going to come across. But you know, it's a great discipline for everyone to go through and make sure that it essentially brings everybody together on that same page.
No, that's absolutely, you're right, Jane. And in fact, the keyword that you've used is a pivot, right? Given that the changing business landscapes and a lot of uncertainty, how you pivot that and how you work on those strategic planning at the right times, right? It's so important that every stage you need to come up with your right strategy, how you build your business plan and pivot, at the right time. No, that's the amazing insight. So, Samir, you want to comment anything on that?
I think, when we look at early stage startups all the way up to scale ups, I think at every stage, as Jane clearly mentioned, we have to keep relooking at strategy. We have to relooking at canvas. Now, the word canvas is outdated, but I would say, each and every stage is equally important and may or may not be a pivot is required to kind of scale up. But having a mindset of pivot, again, referring back to Jane in terms of how the founders themselves are thinking, because I come across through a lot of early stage, then they grow, they raise capital, and then once they raise capital, how do they deploy capital? What is the mindset they're having to deploy their capital smartly is what will make or break their pivot, right? So I think having a strategic planning angle from the beginning will actually help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, Samir. Samir, since you're also representing Founder Institute, GCC in the UAE, and you're the managing director of FI, and you bring a wealth of experience in technology and international market expansion. So our theme is around knowledge-driven economic, right? So I would like to hear from you. How do you see this knowledge-driven economic growth within this entrepreneurial landscape? And what are the sort of a strategy have you found to be most effective in this regard?
So one of the most important strategies I have found very useful is partnerships and collaboration. When we talk about an entrepreneurship ecosystem, and when we talk about emerging versus developing versus developed, right? This is how I would like to classify. While we in the UAE are still classified into the emerging ecosystem, we come in the top 93rd position as per Startup Blink. What is important is actually collaborating with different stakeholders, be it investment funds, be it government, be it bodies who are enablers to startups, accelerators, incubators, knowledge partners like London Business School, and few of them who we've partnered with to actually create a wholesome deal flow. For example, for us, what becomes critical is to identify the right entrepreneur, right? And identification of the right entrepreneur only will happen if we are intertwined very well with that startup ecosystem, where we're exchanging mentors, where we're exchanging events like these. For example, we bring a lot of value in terms of what exactly we transmit to the market in terms of our messaging, both in technology, innovation, commercialization, intellectual property, and a whole lot of other subjects. We make those entrepreneurs locally aware. So as a matter of fact, given the 14 weeks program we have, At each week of the program, having different topics of discussion, these happen through knowledgeable mentors sharing their wisdom, benefiting the early stage entrepreneurs, growth stage entrepreneurs, and then helping them navigate the whole entrepreneurial landscape. Also, by bringing these partners together, what happens is their entire journey becomes very, very smooth, right? So why we want to create that thriving ecosystem, or having all of these partners work together to exchange knowledge, is basically for the benefit of the entrepreneurs. They have to really have simplified access to all the resources where they're building their startup. So I think exchanging this knowledge, fostering this knowledge with knowledge partners, with government accelerators, incubators, and others, venture capital ecosystem becomes very, very key on how we work in such entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, Samir. See, since you touched upon the program of FI, why don't you a little bit elaborate how does the program work for the benefit of our audience and the listeners?
Sure. So FI, just to give you a quick outlook of Founder Institute, commenced in 2009. We are a 14-week program catering to both early and growth stage. And we have 7,000 plus companies in our portfolio, with very successful companies in across the world. We're present in 200 plus cities around the world. All of us are running these chapters. We run in a chapter format. Our individual contributors or volunteers to help foster the local ecosystem and build entrepreneurship in the local community, and then bring them onto the global stage, where we help to build those companies and help them build global companies. It's a 14-week program. We have 2 tracks, early stage track and the growth track. Different sets of entrepreneurs join our program, both at early stage and at growth stage, and both of them have different curriculum, I would say. Early stage is more on education, growth stage is more on actually development and funding. And this is how, through various series of activities of mentorship and workshops and office hours, we help them scale and build their company. It's a company building program. It's not a training program, through those 14 weeks where they are associated with us. And after that, we hand them over to our Silicon Valley team, where they can actually then help build, expand into product market fit, and get exposure to the Silicon Valley ecosystem. So it's a proven model since 2009, where we have 50 plus companies in our portfolio here in the GCC, because we started right in the pandemic. And we're very happy and stoked about how the early stage ecosystem is developing here. Thank you, Swethal.
Amazing. Actually, I must tell you that you guys are doing a great job. And I personally interacted with some of the great founders from your program. In fact, I'm a mentor as well. So the kind of the potential I see in this region, the coming out from your program is amazing. And also one of the things which you mentioned about the knowledge-driven economic, that actually helping and supporting by the ecosystem in general. So even when I was in Mubadala, when I was seconded to Hub 71, and one of the verticals that actually focus, by Hub 71 was actually from Gadan 2030 vision, right? That's a knowledge vertical. And Hub 71, you can say that actually it was fulfilling that requirement of that vertical. And in the UAE, if you look at Sharjah, for example, it is known for a knowledge hub, right? The kind of the universities they have, and it is for many years it's supporting that sort of the knowledge-driven economic actually. Great. So let me move on to Jane. Jane, you've been instrumental in establishing Enterprise 100, and it's a LBS Angel Network program that provides early stage funding for young entrepreneurs. Given that you are so closely associated with LBS, one of the prestigious institutions. How do you see that kind of the collaboration between academic institutions and the private institution in nurturing entrepreneurship? I'm sure there's a lot of work required to create awareness, educate them about the angel, funding, and at the same time, you're building the future economic, right, from your institutions, the amazing students who become entrepreneurs. I could say that I'm also LBS alum, and after a few years, I decided to quit the job and start my own venture. So I can see that there's so much of work you guys are doing and promoting this entrepreneurship culture. So tell us or share some insight about, like, how do you see this kind of partnership you establish between your academic institution and the private investors?
Okay, so I mean, Enterprise 100 is just one activity which I've launched over the years, which effectively works in conjunction with London Business School. It's perhaps actually not even the best example of a partnership. It's very much a relationship as opposed to a partnership with a capital P. And the school actually are very keen to sort of differentiate between partnership with a capital P and partnership with a small p. So Enterprise 100 operates out of London Business School, and we host our events here. And it's a win-win for both sides, as opposed, excuse me, as indeed every partnership should be. But actually, we operate sort of quite independently and give back to the school in terms of making available access to investors, which is great for some of the businesses which are coming out of the school. But it's more of an outreach activity in terms of some of the sort of the events that we run, etc. I would say that actually more specific to partnerships are some of the sort of entrepreneurial resources that are put in place over the years, like, for example, our incubator program, our mentorship program. Those are driven by sort of full partnership relationships, which enable these outside organisations to be formal supporters of activities at London Business School. So if we look at, for example, the incubator, that's been operating now for, I think, 14 years. It's very much driven by the availability of resource and support and expertise from external organisations, accountants body, lawyers, IP firms, for example, a load of providers who actually support the support the incubator in terms of providing either credits or time or funding in some way. The incubator program itself accommodates 11 to 12 teams a year. Now, without the support of those partners who operate as I say, a key sort of resource within the program, those 12 or 11 businesses could not enjoy the support that they otherwise benefit from, which actually equates to about £250,000 worth a year of support per team. So it's incredible. Some of this support you couldn't even put a figure to it. You couldn't quantify it at all. But partnerships certainly, absolutely play a vital role in nurturing the entrepreneurial landscape at London Business School, providing access to resources, expertise, as I say, networks as well, people opening up their Rolodex. And that collaboration between the entrepreneurs and practitioners from external firms, as well as obviously the input of the academics, etc., is what's really driven the incubator to be the showcase of entrepreneurship at the school. But as I say, the key to that is that both sides to the partnership need to benefit. It needs to be very much a win-win arrangement, because only then can actually it then sustain longevity and go to its sort of full strength.
Yeah, absolutely, Jane. I know that you guys are also working on creating a Middle East London Business Angel Forum, right? So
that's right.
Yeah, which is amazing work. I was involved in the past, and I've seen kind of hard work that goes to identify, the top 10 startup who pitch to your network of investors. Those who are listening, the startup, please do reach out to Jane to apply for the next one. I think it's going to come soon I think in a month or two. But yeah, tap the network of LBS, angel networks. They're amazing. I've seen successful funding happening, in last two rounds, because I think it just started a year ago.
Yeah.
But maybe you want to share some more, insight about the format and all for the benefit of the listeners.
Absolutely. So the regional club in Dubai, known as Melba, the Middle East London Business Angel Club, would effectively be a replica of what we've established here in London with Enterprise 100. Enterprise 100 is in its 25th year, so it certainly enjoys a fantastic history and lots of learnings which we're sharing with the guys who are driving the Melba initiative in obviously the Middle East. So it will be a not-for-profit organisation providing local businesses with the opportunity to pitch for funding amongst an audience of high net worth individuals who are looking to get involved with these early stage businesses. There's a particular sweet spot for the pitches in terms of what we look for with regard to deal flow, with regard to valuation, and many of these businesses being certainly already up and running as opposed to being mere ideas, which then obviously require de-risking. So it's incredibly exciting. It really is. We're just setting up the sort of formal infrastructure for Melba at the moment. My colleague Osman Hanif is running that locally, and just about to set the date for the next initiative, for the next event. We've had two already, as you've already alluded, Swethal. We've had successes in terms of matching, so that's fantastic. And the infrastructure in Middle East is almost sort of easier to navigate than that in London, insofar as it's much more concentrated, it's much more viral with regard to understanding who the network of investors are, and very quickly word is getting around that London Business School regionally is actually setting up this new club. So I dare say it's going to be a huge success, and we'll be learning along the way, making some regional and local adaptations to accommodate obviously the Middle Eastern market, because there may well be differences which we identify as the club matures. But certainly I see no reason why it won't enjoy the same success as the London-based club. And we're looking forward to obviously getting the deal flow coming through, and to making sure that we can facilitate those investments to fuel the local entrepreneurial community.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, with our partnership with Entrepreneurship World Cup, hopefully we'll have a lot of more and more deal flows coming through. Yeah, and by the way, congratulations for completing 25 years, silver jubilee of Enterprise 100.
It's been a long ride.
I know, and we're gonna see similar success in Dubai as well for the GCC MENA region, actually, because your focus is wider MENA. Samir, actually, one important thing which Jane has touched upon is the networking, and she already explained about the whole partnership and all. How do you see this networking and collaboration contributing to the growth of this knowledge-driven economics? So, I would love to hear some examples of your successful collaboration, because Founder Institute is a really global organization. So, if you can share some of your, some insights, some examples that how that shape the whole entrepreneurship landscape in a very positive manner.
Yeah, so some of our corporate partnerships include NASA, include some of the large organizations who actually are coming. The latest one is Siemens, where we're actually bringing internal and external innovation. We're combining across the Siemens corporate. We're starting with actually studying almost 1,000 employees of Siemens, their entrepreneurship DNA, which is, we call it the DNA. It's based on about 26 to 28 parameters of an individual, where we actually, once you are applying for a Founder Institute program, we actually extensively study traits of an individual, based on which we can come out with entrepreneurship traits. And then based on those traits, we classify them on the type of entrepreneur a person is, right? What happens is, when we start working with corporates like NASA and Siemens and others, we get consumed by so much data coming in different entrepreneurship traits. And that is helping us classify those entrepreneurs and then placing them, those entrepreneurs, in the right networks. For example, if you go to Founder Institute website, you will actually see, there are different programs. There are core programs. There are opportunities for you. We have something called as FI Venture Institute, which is actually helping you connect with our mentors, our partners, and slowly we also have developed over the last 3-4 years our own VC accelerator called VC Lab. We have many first-time fund managers who have actually gone through the VC Lab program and become fund managers with an average fund size of $80 million. So what we're trying to build is, we are not just an accelerator program builder, right? On one hand, we are actually helping build the largest entrepreneurship network with top mentors. We have about 35,000 mentors now in our pool, and all of them are great on what they have achieved. Some of them have exited, and obviously in Middle East, we have 250 plus great mentors. What we always strive to do, and you can learn from some of our graduates, is when an entrepreneur is selected or enrolled into our program, we work very closely with our entrepreneur to see where his important idea can be fit in, and then mature that particular entrepreneur through our networks. As I said, once you graduate, we unlock certain important features of our platform, which is product market fit, which is funding lab, where again, these are dedicated programs utilizing our network, right? And then our office hours, when they are in the funding lab, our office hours are actually with the investors who have gone through our program of first-time fund managing, the first-time fund managers, VC Lab. And then that is very effective because, it is very challenging for an entrepreneur to start building a startup, complete a program, build his company, and then not exposed to the funding world, because you have to complete the cycle. So we bring in the element of through the VC Lab, we bring in that element of funding where they are interacting and booking office hours with the real investors who may take decision to invest at an earlier stage, later stage, but the deal flow or the deal warehousing starts from there. So we place networking, collaboration at the top of the agenda when we enroll entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I think, Samir, one thing which you mentioned about the collaboration with the corporates like Siemens and all, and I have seen how it benefit, because it's not easy to hack the procurement process of all these large organizations. It's not easy for startups to get it into their process and say, hey, get me a contract, because they go through their like tendering process, and especially when you are competing with a large organization, you are automatically allowed when they see this is a startup. So the collaboration that organizations like yours, Founder Institute and LBS bring in actually really helps, because it's given opportunity for even corporate to look at innovation and what's going on in the market, which generally they do not come to know, because they're such a large organization. Every time they're engaging with a large consultant who bring their always the solution that is already existing in the market, and sometimes it's outdated. There's no innovation, right? So this kind of a collaboration, I've seen how it's successful working in the whole entrepreneurship ecosystem. Another thing is networking. I think it's so important for startups to come out from their comfort zone, come out from the cocoon and talk to all the key enablers in the whole startup ecosystem. And that means they need to be in the right ecosystem. It's not like, as a startup, it's important that you are surrounded by some of the, the best funds or, accelerator incubators, even academy like LBS or, reputed universities. and also the whole mentors and thought leaders. So it's so important that they, in order to thrive, they need to be surrounded by the right players in the ecosystem. So essentially, I always say that startup is the linchpin of the whole ecosystem. If there's no startup, there's no ecosystem, right? So moving on to the next question to Jane, and again, staying on the same ecosystem, the advantage that bringing, and you've been playing an instrumental role in LBS, one on academy side, then on the investments, on the whole, the angel investment side, as well as the schools incubators program, where you've been developing resources for all aspiring founders. So could you please share some of the best practices or lesson learned that come out of this while you're building the whole ecosystem, while supporting the whole entrepreneurship ventures?
Yeah, sure. I mean, lessons learned in terms of setting them up, or lessons learned with regard to looking back, what I'd have done differently. I mean, there's two different things there. But
it's more of
sorry, go on, say, Swethal.
It's more of the latter part. It's more of looking back. If you look at hindsight, right?
Okay. I think the majority of the resources that I've been involved in setting up have been born out of really observing what those founders really would benefit from. So, you can go off on your own tangent, have your own agenda in terms of, okay, we'll set up this, this, and this. But actually, it's not rocket science. And if you look at any sort of business school, accelerator, incubator, they're all premised really on the similar sort of resources. And those have come about because that's actually clearly what the founders need. They need access to skills. They need access to mentors. They need access to networking opportunities. They need access to investors. So, looking back, actually, I can honestly say that there's nothing which perhaps stands out in terms of saying, okay, I'd have done this differently, because it's such a proven model. But I mean, one of the main advantages that I had, of course, was being able to leverage all of this on the back of London Business School's fantastic name. So that actually made life a lot easier in terms of setting up resources and putting in place all the support infrastructure, because there's so many people who would like to be working within the LBS ecosystem. They know what a hotbed of entrepreneurship it is. They know how strong our student base is, and they know obviously the strength of the brand name. That it was never difficult to actually identify key supporters who would then be able to make themselves available in terms of the resource, skill set, funding, etc., to be able to support those entrepreneurs. So I think understanding the needs of the founders is absolutely critical when you're putting resources in place. And put yourself in their shoes, quite frankly. My whole career has been working with founders of early stage businesses. So on the one hand, yes, I had a consultancy for many years on a sort of private company basis, but then to flip that skill set and those observations within an academic environment, it became very obvious as to what these founders really would need. And, as I say, it's support, access to funding, etc. I think importantly as well, there becomes a certain point at which, whether it's an academic institution, an institute of whatever sort of shape or size, they can almost provide too much support and too much comfort for fledgling founders. And when I mean too much, I mean that they're actually not able, they're not enabling these founders to stand back and make calculated judgments on the risks that they would otherwise encounter if they weren't being cocooned by an accelerator or an incubator program or any other program. It's incredibly important that the founders, whilst they're given the support and infrastructure to be able to focus and concentrate on the sort of daily growth and daily issues of their business, that actually they're not given that much, which enables that, which then prevents them from actually making those sort of proper commercial judgments. Because at the end of a program, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it may be, they're going to have to stand on their own 2 feet. So, as I say, there's that very, very fine line between giving them support and actually propping them up beyond the sort of the realms of reasonableness. The third thing I would say is don't underestimate the value of the community that they're operating in, whether it's an incubator community, whether it's a wider community of being a much bigger organization, or whether it's just something very localized. it's very important that they work as a community, that they share things between them, that they learn and leverage the key points between themselves. The power of that community and the power of the brand name behind the community actually speaks volumes. It really does. And then finally, actually, I think the opportunity to be able to interact with those founders and to be able to keep your door open, to be that sort of point of judgment as and when, you know, they need a shoulder to lean on, when they need some advice, some support, when they need some contacts, that ability to maintain that line of communication with them individually as founders, individually as leaders of a business, as opposed to founders and having personal issues as well, and then collectively as a cohort. I think that's incredibly important, to be able to steer the cohort together and make sure that they all work collaboratively on an ongoing basis. So those to me are sort of the sort of key observations in terms of best practices that, looking back, I can honestly say have worked time and time again for the setup of so many of the resources that we've implemented over the years.
Yeah, absolutely, Zain. And one of the things you mentioned about the access to funding, right, which is so important for startup, which wherever they go, they look at how to tap the capital in that market, as well as the entering into the new market. So the two things are so important for every entrepreneur, like access to capital and access to new market.
Absolutely, and I mean, hand in hand with access to capital, of course, is understanding their investment readiness as well, because having access to capital and being ready to access that capital are two very different things. And whilst you know, a facility or an institution may make available access to capital, it's very important that the founder understands that that capital is there as and when the time is right. But you know, if they haven't got a proven model, if they haven't, for example, got, I don't know, some revenues or whatever it may be for the, you know, the criteria of those investors, the timing isn't yet right for them. And to shoot too early, quite frankly, and to have visibility to those investors may be more detrimental to them than otherwise, you know, they perceive for their own good.
No, you're right. And in fact, Middle East is blessed with access to capital, right? It's just that how can you tap that capital is always the question. We have, I think, 7 out of 10 world's largest sovereign funds, right? Which is based out of Middle East. But it's so big, then you would always struggle to get allocations for startup fundings. So it is important to also understand that what sort of capital is available. But again, there is if you look at from investor perspective, they are looking for all those new innovative ideas, disruptive stuff, you know, the technology. And it's become very difficult to draw a thin line between what is innovations, what is, you know, is it copycat is a good innovation? Maybe a good innovation for that region, you know, because that's not there. It working somewhere else, someone can bring that the same ideas over there. I think that's still a good, because in fact, we have 2 unicorns. It's not something innovations. I mean, more than now, 2 unicorns now. But I'm talking about what happened with Kareem and Sook. Back then, it was not innovations from here. It is all pretty much replica of what's happening in the part of the world. But now this become a super, I would say, like, you know, the competition's growing, that it's become a lot of pressure on, it is actually putting a lot of pressures on, even on the founders, to show what innovation they have, right?
Yeah.
So speaking about the innovation, I want to ask Samir, you know, if you can share some insight how innovation has acted as a catalyst for you know, the entrepreneurship success, and also, you know, for the economic advancement of this region.
Sure. So one of the companies I'm actively following in our FI Global Network, and I've met the founders multiple times, is a company called Pillbot. It's a small robotic pill which actually goes into your stomach, and it's actually doing diagnosis of your entire stomach to detect early cancer and any stomach-related diseases. Pillbot. The company is called Endiatrix. Now, this is a Silicon Valley innovation. They are here for Arab Health to expose that technology. Now, Arab Health is going on to expose that technology to an investor called World Health, who's investing in breakthrough innovations in human health, and digital health. So the way forward, or the way these innovations come to life, come to market into our region, is through through investors. Obviously, investors, when they are looking at investing in these kind of breakthrough technologies, and Swethal, you mentioned some of the large sovereign wealth funds are based here. I was actually watching an analysis from Lucidity Insights today, and the top sovereign wealth funds in the region are investing, as their top priority is health, right? And it starts from the minimum allocation from a UAE fund, a sovereign wealth fund, starts from $4 billion per year, and kind of goes above. So the top 10 sovereign wealth funds are investing in health, and they are looking at these kind of technologies to come, and which actually solves not only the local challenges, but also they are looking at how it can benefit humanity in general, right? Sam Altman, OpenAI, was here in Abu Dhabi. That's one of the breakthrough innovations. And right now, he is talking to most of the Middle Eastern investors, again, some big sovereign wealth funds, to do chip manufacturing, because one of the element which is required for AI advancement is actually the chips. NVIDIA is overwhelmed with manufacturing of chips. And if in the next 3 to 5 years, the industry does not get sufficient chips to manufacture, then the technology is going to slither down. So all of these, when we, I first gave an example from Founder Institute's portfolio company, Pillbot and Diatix. The second is a global example in front of us, which is OpenAI, and things like that. So what I'm seeing, one of the things which Jane mentioned, is very clearly there is a flat ground in terms of when it comes to innovation. It is no longer the Silicon Valley phenomena, okay, or no longer a London phenomena, no longer. It is becoming a flat phenomena. And because of that flat phenomena, founders are really smart and know where to go to access capital, to access networks, to access or to grow their company, are actually heading to the right hotspots, right? For example, right now, China might not be the right place. Right? There's a lot of innovation happening in China, but because of geopolitical issues, it might not be the right place to enter the market. But smarter founders are using different ways to penetrate into Southeast Asia. And Swethal, you might know, one of the largest Malaysian sovereign wealth funds, Khazanah Nasional, Berhad, is investing so much of their sovereign wealth fund allocation into the Middle Eastern and Southeast Asian market, including India, for example, right? And so what is happening is really there is a flattening of the curve. Smarter founders are accessing capital at better valuations. And so as we move forward, you will actually see that some of the emerging startup ecosystem hotspots are going to become much more relevant when it comes to, for example, in the Middle East, we always talk about three things. One is renewable energy, clean energy. We talk about food security, and we talk about health. So all of these top three initiatives and startups in renewable energy, including mobility, wherever they are located, they're going to start flocking, because of COP28 actually set the ground for some of the green and sustainable companies to actually build their offices here in the UAE. And so those kind of opportunities, we are going to see more and more concentrated on, see, the countries are building startup hubs for economic development. You know, the other day I was with the chamber, I was discussing with them, they're building a unicorn accelerator to attract unicorns. And the reason is with the D33 agenda, they want to have about 30 unicorns to be based in Dubai. Now, how they attract the founders, the capital, and they mobilize all that along with partners will become very interesting as we follow this journey. But every country is actually using their muscle of what they have built over the years to create that infrastructure. And so, you know, I call it flattening, irrespective of where you're going to be building your company, you'll have to keep moving around the place to attract the right set of customers, the financiers or the funders, and obviously which will help you grow your company into a unicorn or whatever you aim to do or exit. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think every country is trying to build their own ecosystems in collaboration with government and private partnership. And one of the things which they're trying to do is that how they can attract innovative startups to the country and also export the local startups globally, right? But it's become a competition. It's like how you can attract all these companies to your country. In a way, it's a good for startup because that opens a lot of opportunity for them to go where there's access to capital, where there's a bigger market, there's incentive programs. And you mentioned about one of your portfolio companies, created that pills. I think I have used it, by the way, because recently I went to Cleveland Clinic in Abu Dhabi. They asked me to solve a pill. It's a video that actually I had to carry a box, some device for 8 hours. And it was throughout that 8 hours, you were reading taking continuously the pictures, videos, and collecting a lot of data. And this is an example of how the partnership with large organizations and with the government support, the startup innovations are coming. And at the same time, it's actually inspire the local entrepreneurs to come up with their own innovative idea. So like you said, it's a flattening. It's no more Silicon Valley things, if you look at now, in fact, so many innovations happening in India, in Scandinavian region. Actually, a lot of the great climate tech startups are there, by the way. And you mentioned about the healthcare segment, where as we speak, Arab Health is going on. And I was a judge yesterday in one of the competitions, and I was literally astonished by the kind of the startup who were pitching, where they were the finalist. But our even Entrepreneurship World Cup is also aiming to attract a lot of innovative startup. I see one of the participants, Atle Idland. He represented Desert Control in last year Entrepreneurship World Cup. They were the winner of UAE final, and they advanced to global final. And apparently they got big project in Saudi Arabia as well as in Arizona in the US. And later I found that they raised $10 million. So the CEO actually even sent a video that like how EWC actually helped in scaling up their business, getting an access to the capital. So speaking about the Entrepreneurship World Cup, Jane, I would like to hear from you that since you are our knowledge partner, thank you so much for being knowledge partner of Entrepreneurship World Cup. How do you see this partner aligns with your theme of knowledge-driven economic, and how do you see that, as a knowledge partner, the role that you play in fostering this all entrepreneurship success on a global scale?
First of all, we're delighted to be a knowledge partner, of course, and it makes great sense. So many of our alums are, that visibility across the region, and entrepreneurship is certainly very much embedded at London Business School, both across both of our campus sites and in fact globally. So as I say, it does make complete sense. And thank you for the opportunity. With that in mind, I mean, what I would say is that obviously I'm the executive director of the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Private Capital, as you very kindly introduced me at the beginning of this session. That in itself is a research institute, and I think the strength of our research on entrepreneurship and private capital, together with the teaching in the subject area, which obviously we are delighted to have world-class faculty across all aspects of entrepreneurship and private capital, and the resources that we make available. I mean, if we sort of combine those three sort of pillars, and then identify really how LBS is a powerhouse with its sort of nearly, well, I think it's about 98% of its community being international. So, the fact that we have obviously the knowledge and its global reach makes this a very obvious fit. And with that in mind, we were able to leverage both our teaching, our resources, and our research to be able to support EWC. I mean, things like this webinar, for example, obviously a great example of how we can start to embed ourselves within the community. We've got workshops lined up with my colleagues who will be obviously steering those over the coming weeks across various subject areas. Also specific to entrepreneurship, of course. And then, I myself will be sitting on the panel of the judges for the regional finals. So for us, it sits very, very well in terms of obviously what we're doing and just sharing and dissemination of knowledge that we have acquired and continue to build upon within LBS. And of course, we also have our own regional competition as well, the MENA Startup Competition. It sits very well with that as well in terms of each of these initiatives providing sort of deal flow for the others. So, certainly we're very much part of this with the local ecosystem, and very excited to be sharing the knowledge and the research which LBS is so known for, to be able to obviously foster entrepreneurship on a global basis for the benefit of those who are participating. So thank you once again for asking us.
Thank you so much, Jane, and thank you. You also mentioned about the workshops and some of the sort of a mini boot camp that will be provided by top faculty, and this is something we are looking forward to see how it benefit the semi-finalist and finalist, and you'll be judging and speaking in our final event. So we're really looking forward to see you in person in the final event. Samir, you have also, Founder Institute has signed us the accelerator partner, and similar to LBS, you also have a plan to run some bootcamp and as well as some workshops, and this is pretty much applicable to all the applicants, right? So regardless of the student. And
absolutely.
It's a proposal that one of the workshop would be joint workshop with London Business School for the growth stage. So I would like to hear from you. If you could shed light on how these accelerators like yours contribute to growth of the knowledge-driven economics, as well as how to Entrepreneurship World Cup in general, and how you see the collaborations can bring a lot of unique opportunities to entrepreneurs.
So first of all, Swethal, Founder Institute, on behalf of headquarters in Silicon Valley, I thank you very much, and Startup Scale 360 for onboarding us as an accelerator partner. I was watching from the other side of the lens last year, where I had the opportunity to judge as a semi-final judge, to see some brilliant companies come through EWC at the first EWC, and after that, it's gone from strength to strength of EWC UAE winning the best marketing campaign partner of the year and in Melbourne, and so forth. So I always feel that looking at strengthening our strength is collaboration with networks. EWC, along with Global Entrepreneurship Network, which is the parent body, forms a great partnership. Our CEO, Jonathan Grecian, was in Melbourne to attend Global Entrepreneurship Network, and he is very supportive of actually partnership of EWC UAE and any other EWCs across the region, and we have his support. the reason we are more inclined to making EWC a success, because we look at both early stage and growth stage entrepreneurs. Like LBS, we have a huge knowledge pool, both in terms of acceleration as well as mentorship. And we feel that these entrepreneurs who are building in our ecosystem, UAE, Saudi, will extensively benefit from our expert sessions, which we are going to provide through our mentors for early stage entrepreneurs. And for growth stage entrepreneurs, we are going to provide some additional sessions on fundraising, etc. So I think also it benefits FI of founders who are willing to participate in a structured program, who want to take the benefit and build a global company through our 14 weeks of programming. So I think it's mutual that some of these founders will go through the Founder Institute program if they really like the content, like the mentors and things like that. And they build global companies using both EWC, London Business School, as well as Founder Institute as partners who are going to bring a lot of interesting content to help them build a successful company. This is why we're very interested to kind of collaborate with like-minded people who are working tirelessly for the startup founders and the startup ecosystem to succeed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samir. And for the benefit of the audience, I have put the link below, the entrepreneurshipworldcup.com. It's very simple. It's in the chat. Also, you can look at our website, startupskills360.com. It has the EWC 2024 link. But just want to bring some of the the success stories that we have gained from the last year Entrepreneurship World Cup that we organized. And Samir, thank you so much for mentioning about the award that we have won in Melbourne as the best organizer globally out of 200 plus countries. That was the impact that actually we created for the country, for the UAE. But one of the things that we are so proud that last year's from the pool of the applicants that applied for Entrepreneurship World Cup, 9 out of 100 startups were selected by Ministry of Economic as a future 100. So essentially, these are the future economic of the country. These are the future startups. So we are proud that we contributed 9%. And I also mentioned about how Desert Control got global exposure, global funding, and helped them really, really scaling up. You mentioned that you were part of the semifinal, right? You were judging semifinal, and I don't know if you remember that one of the judges from semifinal has invested startup who was pitching at that round. And apparently that startup, even though it did not advance to the final, the judge was so happy with that. I say it perfectly fit into our mandate. This is what exactly we are looking at. So it's not about winning the competition. It's not about the cash prize that you're going to get at the global level in the global final, which I want to mention as well. But it's all about the exposure. It's all about, like I said, the networking, talking to the investors, pitching, to your idea, sharing your ideas to the people in the whole involved in the whole competition. And again, speaking about the cash prize, for the benefit of the audience, I want to highlight that the global cash prize is up to $1 million, which is distributed among multiple categories. In the highest categories get up to $300,000, and the lowest get $50,000. All these information is there in the website. With that, I think we are sharp 1 hour. I think we're just touched 60 minutes. I'm glad that we maintained the time. And I really would like to thank you, Jane and Samir, for joining us for our first webinar series. And we are going to organize many series until the UAE final, as well as the global final. And thank you, audience. Thank you, participant, for joining us.
Thank you, Swethal. Thank you, Jane.